सेव किया था ना?
मैं सिर्फ इसलिए गया था क्योंकि उसने मुझे कॉल किया, that's it. But listen तो.
Save it for someone else.
जिंदगी में सेव करना जरूरी है, मगर जब बात पैसों की हो, सिर्फ सेविंग से काम नहीं चलेगा। इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट कीजिए और अपने सेविंग्स को आगे बढ़ने का मौका दीजिए।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
If you're watching this, then I assume you've also seen those horrifying videos from Manipur. Can there be any human being who saw those videos of those poor women being stripped, attacked, assaulted, humiliated, and then later apparently one of them was gang raped and did not feel disgusted, nauseated, pained? I know personally I felt shamed as a human being, and I felt that the incident shamed us all as Indians. There's something very terrible about something like this happening in the 21st century and us doing nothing about it. What I found particularly worrying was that though the videos have come out now, this is not a recent incident. It happened at least a month ago. The reason we haven't seen the videos till now is because the government of Manipur banned the internet in their state. According to at least one of the women who's spoken afterwards, the police were present. They saw what was happening and chose not to intervene. That's what law and order in Manipur has become like. If you are of my generation, you will remember what happened in the Nirbhaya case. You will remember how India was outraged, how the government of Manmohan Singh had a very difficult time coping with the criticism, how it led to an all-India awakening of the violence that was being perpetrated against women. And you will ask yourself the same question that I've been asking myself for the last few days. Why has nothing like that happened over here? Yes, we are nauseated. Yes, we are disgusted. But it's not the next Nirbhaya. There isn't that kind of uproar. Though, of course, what happened was as horrifying in its own way. I mean, the broad answer to this, and it's not an answer that makes us proud as Indians, is because it happened in Manipur. There is a way in which things that happen within the Indian heartland, Delhi in particular, as happened in the Nirbhaya case, can grab us by the heart and make us respond. Things that happen in the Northeast, on the other hand, we treat as being, well, not so much at the center of things. It's not top of the mind for us. Yes, we're outraged today, we'll be outraged tomorrow, but it will fade from public memory. And that makes me very angry. Why does it happen? Well, there are many reasons, not all of them to do with this government or the events of the last month. You have to accept and you have to remember that the Northeast has always been peripheral to the Indian consciousness. The only time for many decades any of us ever heard of the Northeast was when there was violence. Otherwise, we never bothered with it. Most Indians probably heard of the Northeast in the late 50s, early 60s, when there was a Naga insurgency. The Indian Army put down that insurgency, but did it with a great deal of brutality, a great deal of violence. Nagas will tell you what horrible memories their families have of that period. That was followed by a Mizo insurgency. In 1966, the government of Indira Gandhi sent the Indian Air Force to bomb Aizawl, the capital of Mizoram. Can you even conceive of this? The Indian Air Force being used against our own people? And the population of Mizoram was not massive. The threat was not enormous. The insurgency was limited in scale. Yet the Indian state overreacted with this level of violence. Of course, later we lied about it, denied that the Air Force had been sent, but the truth has come out now. Entire villages in Mizoram were uprooted and relocated to the edges of highways so that the security forces had easy access to them. This was not widely discussed, but it was no secret. And even then, the people of India were content to let our countrymen and countrywomen be treated in this manner. Why? Because it was the Northeast. It's a problem that has persisted to some extent to this day. Even now, many Indians are reluctant to acknowledge that the Northeast is as integral a part of India as, say, Uttar Pradesh is. We are reluctant to treat the concerns of the Northeast on par with the concerns of, say, Biharis. It's possibly because of religion. Many people, most states in the Northeast are not overwhelmingly Hindu. It's possibly because the people of the Northeast look slightly different from the rest of us. It's possible that there's a cultural gulf. But there it is. That's our attitude to the Northeast. And it's that attitude you see repeated when we respond to what has been happening in Manipur for what, several weeks, over a month now, 2 months maybe. Nobody really seems to care that much. It's changing, I think, our attitude to the Northeast. At least I hope so. You see many more people from the Northeast coming to the Indian mainland in cities like Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi. Usually, unfortunately, we only give them jobs in the service sector. We don't take them as seriously as we should. And unpleasant racial epithets are used for them. But they still come. And I hope that eventually the fact that there are so many Northeasterners in our midst will make a difference. In the Northeast, Hindi cinema and popular culture have achieved what governments could not do. I went back to Arunachal after many years recently, and it surprised me to see how many people spoke Hindi. That Hindi cinema had become a big deal. While I was there, Kapil Sharma of television fame was there, and it was a huge deal in Arunachal Pradesh. That would have been unthinkable a couple of decades ago. So yes, the Northeast is making an attempt to integrate. It's us in the rest of India who continue to have a mental block about what happens in the Northeast. And the way in which Manipur has been allowed to burn is one example. Then let's talk about the politics of what happens in the Northeast. First of all, I think you have to understand that in the national context, the Northeast doesn't count for that much. Most states in the Northeast have got 1 or 2 maximum MPs to the Lok Sabha. So even if you sweep, say, Mizoram or Nagaland, doesn't make much difference to your total composition in the Lok Sabha, which is why political parties don't take the Northeast and its concerns as seriously as they should. You think about it, is there any Northeast politician you can even name? Sangma, Purno Sangma in the old days, and now Kiran Rijiju perhaps because of his role as ineffectual judicial hitman for this government until he was of course tossed aside. But that's it. There are no other Northeastern politicians who've entered our consciousness. And I don't want to be judgmental about any one part of India, but it's fair to say that just as Indian politics is dirty and corrupt, the politics of the Northeast is no exception. Because the Northeast is wrapped up in its own concerns, national politics doesn't make that much difference. Politicians in the Northeast like aligning with whichever party is in power at the center because that party gives them sops, diverts resources to their states. And so alliances change all the time. Political parties encourage defections. It's not a great situation. But Manipur in some ways is different. Though the complex nature of Manipur politics is hard to understand outside of Manipur because there are so many different tribes with varying interests. What's worth remembering is that the population of Manipur is at least 40% Hindu. So it's the one state where the BJP thought it could make a mark in Hindutva and all its slogans would work. In fact, the BJP's gone further. Mr. Amit Shah has claimed, various members of the BJP have claimed, that it now runs the Northeast, that it's now the dominant party in the Northeast. And they were proud of it, or at least they were, until trouble erupted in the Northeast, which is ruled by the BJP. When trouble erupted in Manipur specifically, we thought that the center, because it was so proud of the BJP's outreach to the Northeast, would do something. Instead, it did nothing. For many, many weeks, the Home Minister said nothing. Then after a huge public uproar, he went and visited the state. He came back, nothing had changed. Until these videos went viral, the Prime Minister of India had not said a single thing about the fact that Manipur, a state governed by his party, was burning. We just acted like it wasn't happening. Will these videos change things? I hope they will. I hope we will realize how shocking what's going on in Manipur is. I think it's significant that we're talking about it. It's significant that even television channels which have blacked out what's happening in Manipur now have to take some notice of it. It's significant that the Chief Justice of India took suo motu cognizance and said that the Supreme Court would intervene if the government did nothing. Perhaps something will happen. Perhaps something for the better will happen. The Chief Minister of Manipur, who's been clinging onto his chair with his blood-stained hands, has announced that he's very sad about what happened and the people who did it will be apprehended. Hey, this happened 5 weeks ago. What were you doing all this time? Why weren't you apprehending them? And one unfortunate response is that we should take action against Twitter because Twitter is where these videos have been shown. I mean, come on, shoot the messenger. Why don't you worry about the shooting in Manipur? I don't know how much will really change. But for the rest of us, this is a wake-up call. These are our people. These are Indians. These are Indian women. They're women of the world. How can we sit back? How can we let this happen? It shames us all, as I said, both as Indians and as human beings.